What we're going to shoot into next is the idea, which is something that I think is deeply misunderstood and deeply, deeply underappreciated, which is lead qualification, okay? That could be social leads of people who you meet out and bring them in your life, or it could be people who spend money with you. So leads, the way that I think about it, is bringing in people who want to have some kind of like a transactional exchange with you. In other words, they have something that's in scarce demand. You're hoping to have a transaction with them that is win-win, where they win and you win. And as a result, you've got to bring some kind of value to the table and create a situation where you can have that kind of an exchange, okay? Now, I'm going to break into this with a story with one of my original mentors, a guy named Owen Cook, who used to be known by the pseudonym David D'Angelo. And so I got a chance to meet up with him, and he had these old DVDs that he would sell. It was called Double Your Dating. He would sell about $20 million a year of this Double Your Dating DVD on this website called Ask Men. And I was one of the main speakers on it, main featured speakers. I think I might have even been the main one. I'm not sure, not totally sure, but I think I might have even been. And he actually wound up helping me to jumpstart my career by putting me as a speaker in all of these DVDs. I was really, really lucky. Honestly, it's like just right place at the right time. I'm incredibly lucky. And if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't even be sitting here right now. Maybe I would have found some other way, but he really helped me to advance my career. Now, when I'm younger, I can remember when Eben would put me in front of his crowds, right? And I'd go into a room, and there might be, say, on the low end, I'd say maybe 70 people, but there was often around 300 people in that room. And I would be allowed to go in there, and I'd be able to make sales to his crowd. Now, I'm about 22, 23 years old at the time, and in my mind, this is hilarious. You're gonna laugh at this. I thought that I was doing him a favor by providing content. I'm thinking like, he's getting free products out of this. Eben actually used to even say to his speakers, I'll either give you $1,000 cash to speak here, but you can't list your website, or you can list your website and you could just come and share the information. Now, as a side note of this, what Eben did was actually very clever, because by allowing every single other speaker in our community to go up on his DVDs, he got to get all the content and the product made very, very quickly. He would maybe do a chunk of it, but he'd have all these other speakers come in and share on a certain topic for the DVD set. And so all these other speakers that were so focused on never sharing the wealth, Eben would share the wealth, but then as a result, he quickly, rapidly was able to make like 20 different DVD sets and sell them via all these different lists from like AskMen.com and these other websites prior to the popularization of social media. Now, one day, I'm thinking that I'm doing this big favor for Eben, that I'm providing him with content and providing him with products. And he sits me down, we just had a lunch together, and he said, Owen, I want to explain this to you. And I'm 22, 23, and I'm completely clueless on this. So basically what it is he draws this picture for me, and he tries to show me something, okay? So what he was doing, we'll put it right here, please. So what he was doing was he was basically pushing about $20 million a year in lead generation through the pipes of AskMen.com, okay? So in effect, what he's got is he's got something called a, you might call it like a front end offer. And what he would have is he'd have this website that you'd find. It was like this like simple website that you'd find, and it was like you can learn the KISS test, you can learn like the best indicator that somebody likes you or whatever it was that he said, right? And then you go in there and you'd wind up buying the ebook. Okay, it was like this cheap ebook, really good ebook, by the way, really, really good, especially for its time, but it would even still stand up today. You'd buy that, and by him selling that cheap ebook, what did it do for him? What do you think? What's his purpose in selling the cheap ebook? Do you think he made any money off that? No, he didn't. He might have been losing $5 a copy. So why is he doing that?
Sales copy into your other program?
Because if you buy that ebook, now he can get you on his mailing list. He was actually probably the first guy to invent these really long emails and just load it with value. He called that concept bumping the free line, okay? And he was probably the person who popularized this. He also popularized a lot of modern landing pages. His name's Owen Cook, Ebenpagan. It's funny because his pseudonym at the time was David D'Angelo, but his business courses are called Owen Cook. So he was one of my early mentors, and believe me, I'm very lucky to have got to be mentored by Eben. So Eben basically makes this little kind of funnel picture for me. I'm not really the best artist here, but I'll do my best. So he's putting about $20 million through the pipes, and he basically shows me like this funnel, okay? And basically what he's showing me is like, this funnel runs super duper deep. And what he says is, Owen, and I'm kind of, messing this up, but here's the general gist of it, even though I'm messing it up. He says, Owen, this is like the 20 million, or this is like, we'll call it like, 19.9, million people, or dollars rather, kind of going through this to generate those leads. Then here's the people that maybe like buy my ebook, and that's like, like the 0.1. And then of the people in that seminar room that you're able to come in and actually spread your message and get your website out to and even do some sales to, that is literally like so thin, and John, you could zoom in on it, that like it's literally like this thin little line right here. So it's like, to generate that amount of leads, you're talking this huge pipeline right here that he's throwing everything through. Then maybe to get like, little ebook sale, you're getting it to say there. And then to get the people who stick, that's gonna be at the top. Now, lead generation, in my view, is one of the least appreciated art forms and form of business that exists in the world. Because even for me at 22 and 23, I was dumb enough to say, you're making money off me. Generally, if you run a business, what you're going to see consistently is that lead generation is vastly, vastly, vastly underappreciated. It is so annoying how little people appreciate it. Let me give a couple simple examples. You want to go to a nightclub? What does everybody do? They complain about the freaking cover charge. Let's think about this. They have to rent the facility, pay the DJ, pay the drink guy or girl, pay for the whole setup, decorate the whole place, pay the bouncers, pay the rent, pay, give fees to club promoters that bring people out, so that your stupid self can show up there and just go talk to the people there, so that can assemble maybe, 150 attractive people that you might want to go meet. But you're complaining that you had to pay $20 to get there. You're like, the people are just there. They're just there. The people are just there, right? That was my mindset when I was actually helping Evan. I'm 42 now, but when I was 22, 23, helping Evan, I'm like, whatever, like the people are just there. I'm just giving you free products. You should thank me. That's what I'm thinking. What am I really bringing? Some little loudmouth 22-year-old giving their opinion because he went out a couple times? Or Eben bringing $20 million machine that I'm benefiting from? But I think that literally I'm believing that I'm doing Eben a favor. Okay, it would be a simple example. One of my buddies was actually on the show, what are these like dating shows, like Millionaire Dating or something like that? And he wanted to do his date at the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles, and they tried to charge him money. Okay, they're like, no, if you want to do your date here, you got to pay us 10 or 20 grand. He's like, I'm getting you put on the TV show. It's free advertising. But what's happening is they are reversing what's called the vendor, basically the vendor to buyer relationship, right? They believe that my buddy was a buyer of using their space. In reality, he was a vendor of leads. He was going to send them leads, but they don't want to see that, right? They can't think about the general cost of lead generation. For many, many years, when I would do free events, we actually had to hit a point where we would actually have to put this thing underneath the form that said, you're not going to start your own, business like ours underneath. We've never actually made an issue with somebody about that, but we had to write that because you want to know what people would do? I'm not even kidding. They would go show up at our free events. They would rent a room above or next door from our event 2 hours later and run around our crowd saying, Owen's doing the next event over here. Owen's got another event later over here. And then they would go and they would sell those crowds. We'd have the same thing in like Facebook. People would make Facebook groups, making it look like it was our group so they could get all the people. And then if we say, hey, you can't do that, they're like, I'm just trying to help the people, man. You don't want to help the people? I'm like, it costs us over $100 million to create this lead list, right? Like if you pulled a weapon out, go into a bank and you steal 10 grand, you go to jail for 25 years. But you try to steal a $100 million lead list, oh, I'm just trying to help people, bro. Don't you just want to let me help them, bro? So super duper duper, way underappreciated. People don't get it. Like people will come to me and be like, oh, if you pay me, I'll come on your, on your social media and I'll give you some content or things like that. I'm like, I don't think you get it. People with loud mouths that have opinions are vast. There's plenty of them. But a proper focused lead list of targeted leads is very, very hard to find. Last example I'll give like this. We can hear my voice. We've been teaching all weekend here for 4 crazy days, but last the Mohicans, you guys being here, I appreciate that. Whenever I would do parties in LA, I run some of the craziest parties. I would literally go around LA, going to every single nightclub. For me to get in those clubs, I've got to network with promoters, I've got to network with the bouncers, I've got to figure out which venues are where, I've got to make different female friends so that I can get in, and then I'm gonna go spend, blow my voice out like I've done here, go annihilate my voice 4 to 7 nights a week for 6 months. I don't know if it'll do it right now, but very often my thumbs crack. You hear that? You hear the cracking? I don't know, I hope the mic caught that. Why? From DMing. I'm sending out thousands of DMs, video message, so that I can fill up my party with some of the most attractive people in Los Angeles. I'm probably spending about, easily, some of my parties I've done, I spent up to $500,000. I can teach you how to do that later. You could do it literally for free. You could do a $500,000 party for free if you think outside the freaking box. But the ones that I usually blow on my own cash, I might blow, say, 10 or 20K. I got to get security. I've got to get the whole thing all prepped. You got to have all the party supplies there. Everything is crazy. And I would do that, and all the cleanup. I'd have like $50,000 in damage on the crib after, all sorts of stuff like that. People go crazy, even with security there. I'd go do all that, and my knucklehead friends would call me up and say, yo, bro, so we're going to roll through, dog. I'm like, no, you're not, dog. I'm like, who are you bringing? How many girls are you bringing? Whatever, dude, like, the squad's coming over. I'm like, there's unlimited guys that want to come to the party, bro. And if I just let every guy friend that I have roll through with just their squad of dudes, you're not going to want to come to my party, right? So they'll call you superficial and, for not inviting them, and yet they don't want to go spend 5 minutes to bring some women. The $10K that I spent to prep that party, is that the main expense? What is 6 months of my time and energy? What could you have made opportunity cost-wise with that time? You could have made so much money with that time, but nobody respects it. Well, whatever, they're just your friends. Like, they think it's like a child's birthday party or something like that. Oh, it's just your friends. Like, they don't understand, no, I'm gonna make an ROI in that party by inviting over high-end businessmen that I'm gonna enlist in one-on-one coaching, high ticket. They don't understand that I'm gonna help people to network with each other, and I'm gonna have the who's who coming to meet each other, and I'm gonna use that to my advantage. People then will stop me in the party, and they're trying to have like these like long conversations with me when I'm doing that party for a specific reason, which is my dating life, my social life, and my business, and they're not able to process what's happening in front of them. They just can't see it because there's no respect for lead generation and there's no respect for time for most people. This is why whenever you're getting better with dating and social skills, they often say, first you learn to get better with women, then you learn to get better with yourself, then funny enough, and this is for guys I'm talking about, you learn to get better with other men. Because what happens is, learning how, like, if you're too afraid to just walk up to, say, a girl, joke around a little bit, flirt a little bit, that can be learned in like a weekend. Like, you can spend one weekend, you can learn that, you could have it down. But the problem is, you probably still have a mountain of inner game issues, right? You've learned how to just kind of flail yourself around and create some attraction. But it could take another couple years to get to the point where you start to respect yourself. So first you learn how to relate to women, then you learn how to relate to yourself, and that takes another couple years to learn how to truly respect yourself, to grow into being the actual person that you were representing on the front end, which you were faking. But the last version is actually learning how to relate with other men, because it's only when you begin to respect when you've actually taken on hard projects, things that are very, very hard, things that took your time. Like, it's hard to respect a party that somebody spent 10 or 20K and 6 months of their time to create. It's hard to respect that when you've never done it. It's hard for me as a 22-year-old to respect what Eben Pagan has created, by having 300 people in the room. It's hard for me to respect that if I've never done it. I've never done that, so of course I'm gonna be cocky. Of course I'm gonna tell myself that I'm doing him a favor. Like, of course I'm gonna self-deceive like that. Of course I am, because I've never had to fill 300 people in a room. So of course I'm going to say, no, I have value in this equation. I'm needed in this equation. I've got the content. Like, wow, right? Even though it cost $20 million and the construction of an entire machine, between the opportunity cost and the money itself, it's probably 3 years of that $20 million running through the pipes, all his time, all his effort, all his opportunity costs. It's probably $60 million to assemble that room of people. That's maybe 300 people that paid, a couple $1,000 to be there or something like that. So basically what you have, now I'm making this sound painful, but I'm trying to sort of advance you in that framework of respecting other men. By the way, really, when they say respecting other men, that was sort of like, an old school way of saying respecting men or women and respecting people who have really pushed themselves to a high level. You will generally notice that people at a low level have a tremendous disrespect for people who have been through the grinder and actually built something, because their dopamine, it actually gets suppressed when they have to admit how hard something is. Like, if I were to tell people that, like, pre-COVID, our monthly expenses, just burn rate was about $1 million a month, I tell people that, like, yeah, right, just make like a website. It's like $9 a month. Where'd the million go? right? Now, if I were to actually sit there with them and show them how I laid out the business and show them every single function of it, I'd be like, we've gone over this top to bottom to keep it lean. Who would you fire? Which service would you kill off? What would you take away? They'd have nothing to say. But they'll just say it out of nowhere because they have no clue what they're talking about. Now, the reason why I could post this video and it probably wouldn't be well liked, it probably wouldn't be well understood, is the average person on social media watching is so uninvested in real success that they can't even process something like this. They can't even wrap their head around it. They're not at a point where they, like, say it was a guy, they don't know how to go flirt with a woman. They certainly don't know how to relate to themselves. They don't know that they hate themselves. They don't know that they're traumatized. They don't know that they're filled with toxic energy. They don't know that they're filled with negativity. They don't even know what negativity is or that they're spewing it on others. They don't understand empathy. They can't get out of, there's so much in coping, they can't get out of their own head to think of what somebody else is experiencing, let alone to start talking about, a run rate of a business or some big crazy funnel. That's so far off where they're at. Now, people in business, when they hang out with each other, these are people that have probably had to learn how to entertain others and make sales to others. In that process, they've probably grown their business. They've learned how to relate to themselves. Because really what happens is that you start your business or you start getting better socially, and what winds up happening is you're kind of faking initially, hopefully not lying, but you're kind of putting on a stronger face maybe than you even should have for the first 2 or 3 years. That would have been me from say 22 to 25-ish. You're doing that even though you're getting results. But what happens is then you start to realize I'm putting on this front of this amazing person, but I hate myself. You didn't even know what self-hate was before though. You didn't even know what self-hate was. You didn't know what trauma was. You didn't know what bad self-talk was. You didn't know what heavy negative energy was. Then you start to want to become that person. You want to have what's called identity level change. You ever notice, say with dating, they always want to know the pickup line or the thing to say because they haven't actually graduated to internal shift and identity level change where you'd become the kind of person where whatever you say probably would be well received. And then from there becoming the kind of person that can respect where somebody else is coming from and learning how to relate to them. So let me continue now with this idea of qualified leads. Okay, so I've been attached to over 100 million in sales in my life. That sounds like a lot. It's really not. If you're new to business, when I say 100 million in sales over 20 years, you're like, wow, 100 million, right? You're probably thinking I pocketed that, right? I didn't. Okay, but you're thinking that. No, I just continually pumped that back in my business while being on a flat salary most of the time. But I just kept pumping it back in. The first $2 million that I ever made where I had $2 million in my own pocket, right back in the business immediately, okay? Why do you think every single time we've had other instructors, they all get to over seven figures a year, and they all become small level niche celebrities. We're batting 1,000 on that. Why is that? Because we have so much money in the pipes that we could almost help just about anybody to become famous, let alone with all that we teach about public speaking and teaching, and we train them and I literally spend years training them. One of the biggest complaints when we used to bring on new instructors was they sound just like you and Julian, and I'm like, you guys just complain about everything, don't you? Because that should be a compliment that they sound like me and Julian, because it means that we didn't just put a monkey in a suit and throw him up. We kept him living with us for 2 to 3 years before we let him coach. Some of you guys are sitting here, seeing some of the people here that are learning to coach, and they're still sitting here just learning and learning and learning, and you've been coming to programs maybe from a year ago, and you're still seeing that. Look at the work that we put in to creating new people. It's super duper intense. We really do our due diligence. What people don't understand is that to get to the point where we have the kind of fan base that we do, okay? I've been attached to over $100 million in sales. That sounds like a lot when you first hear it. It's really not. I'm an artist. I'm not a businessman. I'm an artist. I just happen to be attached to over 100 million in sales. If knowing what I know, if I cared mostly about money, Aaron's in the back of the room right now. You could ask him, Aaron would tell you, he's like, dude, you're like a scrub in your business, compared to what he knows I'm capable of. This is me scrubbing out. I'm just an artist. I'm just I like my speeches and I like my videos and look, I'm in the forest now. I spent 3 weeks making one video and edited it for 30 hours because I'm an artist, okay? And yet, even being an artist, I was still able to do what I did and probably will do quite a bit more. So, I'll probably cap out at something quite a bit more, but you see the point. So, coming from that standpoint, my job is to understand how to create what's called qualified leads. And when you hear that I've done over 100 million in sales, you'd think that I'm this incredible salesperson. I must have incredible sales skills. And to be honest with you, I do. I actually do. I've studied sales for decades. I sell from the stage. I'm one of the OGs as far as selling. I'm really, really good. Actually, no, I wouldn't say one of the OGs. That would be John Carlton, Dan Kennedy, Ogilvy, Claude Hopkins, all these guys. But the point being is I've been doing it a long time. Okay, I know what I'm doing. That being said, however, primarily I am a warm audience speaker. Okay, that's called a warm audience speaker, which means that when I do sales, I am selling to a warm audience. A simple example, if I want to do a sale, I don't really have to do that much. It's just like, who's ever had it on your bucket list to like take a program with me? Like the room's like, yes, you know, right? I'm like, well, go to the back, yes, right? It's crazy, right? I'm like Dan Bilzerian with dating, but for sales, okay? Dan Bilzerian is also a warm lead, we'll call it a dating guy, okay? We'll call it a dating guy. So Dan Bilzerian, he's not grinding it out like a meat grinder in a nightclub where nobody knows who he is, learning every little technique to go and attract somebody. He's throwing a party where people have been watching him on social media, they're already converted, and a percentage of that audience, of the women that are there, already like him. You know, I have friends that are friends with Dan. He literally just sits there. It's basically every man's dream. Whatever you think it is, it's crazier, okay? It's every man's dream. Like just basically just sits there and it's a done deal with like half the people in the room at the same time. Okay, so that's what you call qualified leads. You understand? You're like, how come I can't do that? How come I can't just do a party, lie on a pillow, and half the party jumps on me? You know, how come that doesn't happen to me? Because you don't have pre-qualified lead base. So what's happening is that you're selling to what's called a qualified audience at that point. So in effect, what it is that we've done, I have, in some ways, a big social media presence, but like, in some ways, my social media presence is really big, but in some ways, like, let's be honest, it's kind of not. You ever notice that? It's kind of not. Like, it's actually kind of small, especially for how long that I've been doing it. So people will say things like, why do you put up really, really long videos? People aren't going to watch if you put up really, really long videos. They don't get it. I'm pre-qualifying the audience. I don't want to have to rent a 5,000 person room and have 99% of the people there not a qualified audience. So I'm going to put up a 2-hour video as a filter to get rid of the people who wouldn't watch me for 2 hours, because y'all have been here for 4 days and you've been sitting here for hours. So that's the kind of courses that I sell. So if that's the ultimate kind of course that I sell, why would I care if somebody won't watch a 2-hour video? Right? You can't make money like that. So I do parties in LA, and a lot of really, really huge social media influencers come over. And these are people that could have 10 million followers on YouTube. And they live in studio apartments, and I live in a giant mansion in the Hollywood Hills. And they're so limited in their understanding of money that they walk into my house and they're like, they look around and they're like, but, you don't even have 1 million followers. How did you do this? I have 10 million followers. I can't make rent. You know these people are broke, right? These people are flat broke. Your PewDiePie level, yeah, you get paid some dollars. But most of these guys are stuck at like 20, 30K a month, even with big followings. That's crazy. 20, 30K a month to have that much exposure on you, to be that famous? That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, that won't even pay a month's rent in the world that I come from. So imagine that that's all that you can make and you're getting that much exposure. Why? Because you're letting Google give you the money. You have no monetization sequence. You're just like, I'll just put up my video and I'll get my little micro penny per view, maybe. And also at any point they could demonetize me, but hopefully they don't. Ha ha ha. My whole empire built on sand. Ha ha ha. So it's a mess. So you have to understand both how to have qualified leads. Like, again, I'm trying to get rid of the fat. I'm looking for just like the ribeye. I'm looking for, you know, the prime cuts. I'm not looking for the fat. I don't need 1 million people looking at my video that are a bunch of dummies that don't care about what it is that I have to teach and don't want to do business with me. You have to understand how little I care about impacting people who aren't going to go deep. It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to do anything. It's all vanity. It's all entertainment. It's all fluff. It's all validation. It's all garbage. It's not making any change in their behavior. It's not changing them. It's not helping them. I already even know that even the people that watch my free content, most of them do not experience a profound change. I know because I get approached 30 to 50 times a day on the street, as y'all saw when we were out today. And what happens? Oh, you changed my life. Cool. Hey, let's go talk to them now. Here, you go start the conversation. I'll jump in 2 seconds. How? Okay, let me get this straight. If this is the full total of what I teach, how to start a conversation is about this much. You've been watching my content for 5 years, and you don't have this down. This was infotainment. This was vanity. This was coping. This was telling yourself someday, and I gave you a bit of relief. But you have learned nothing. Why? they have no investment whatsoever. Getting people to invest, let me explain something to you, okay? Giving people things for free doesn't work. Here's why. When you give something for free, people are not forced to invest in it. Because they're not forced to invest, what's gonna happen is you're not forced to persuade them, okay? If they don't have to invest, you're not forced to persuade. So I understand that for a free event, we will have to persuade you to give up a little bit of time and energy at least. Now you don't just have to watch from home. Then at an inexpensive event, I've got to persuade the person to invest into that event. Via the process of the persuasion and then them putting down a little bit of money, what happens is they have now convinced themselves that they will dedicate the time and energy in their finite time and energy that they have to actually get better at this. If somebody pays more money, there is a direct proportion to what you can teach them to what they pay. This is very, 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 very late at night. My voice is very, very gone. And if this was the free event, what percentage of the room would have left right now? They would all be gone home. Gotta work, bro. Great event, bro. And they go to work. I could be giving them the keys to the kingdom. I could be giving them things that make them millions, change their social life. Gotta go to work, bro. Ta-ta. And I know that. So what I have to do is I put Instagram, I just put like the dumbest possible content ever because they just want to flip through, same as TikTok. YouTube, you can go a little bit longer. Oh, an hour. They had to watch for an hour. Oh, okay. Free event, you can go a little bit deeper. It might be 5 to 7 hours. You know, it's not all just the punchy stuff I post on YouTube. There's more depth there. At a $300 event, you could get them to stay for about a day. And at a couple $1,000 event, you can keep them up till noon the next day if you want. And guess what? At 3K, you could be like, hey, run up the street with your shirt off, screaming, I'm a crazy man, I'm a crazy man. And the person's like, oh, that sounds kind of crazy. I'm like, hey, you paid $3,000. Don't you think you should do it? They're like, you're right. They're going to go do it. So what happens is you can actually give them the value. There's things, and if I post this online, everybody's going to go, no, give me the secret, Owen. Give me the secret, Owen. I'll take it. I swear I'll take it. I swear. No, you won't. You're lying. You're a complete liar. You're not invested at all. You don't care at all. You know how I can tell you care? If you're sitting in this room. Otherwise, you don't care. But I can't figure it out. Okay, so people got to the moon, and you can't figure out how to get on a $100 plane ticket and come to this, really. Like, you couldn't come to a free event, at least. Okay, they don't care. They're not invested. People will care to the extent that they invest. If they're not invested, they don't care. How do we know this? You know, you take someone out on an expensive date, what do you get at the end of the night? You get a kiss on the cheek because they're not invested in most cases. Can you break that rule? Sometimes sure, but you catch my point, okay? So what you want to do is you want to get a higher price point on things, and then that forces you to walk them through the process of persuading them. Then they're persuaded. Then what the money does is it tilts the seesaw to where they're actually willing to follow up with what it is you're teaching them, and then they're going to take action. That is how you surround yourself with people that are really ready to go the distance with you, okay? Because if I meet somebody in a bar, you know, I can make them laugh for a couple minutes. But if they become my friend, now they can come to my parties. If I date them, now we can have all sorts of amazing experiences. And then if I, get into a deeper relationship with them, now we're off in Hawaii. Who's gonna get the better experience? The person off in Hawaii or the person who giggled for 5 minutes? Obviously, if somebody can go way deeper with you, you can help them more. You can change their life more. They care more. You could offer somebody at a club a free trip to Hawaii. They probably will skip it. They'll probably even skip it. You'd say, hey, I'll take you to Hawaii this weekend. They'll probably skip it. They're not invested. And if they do go, they're not gonna care. They're not gonna appreciate it. And so what starts happening is you get caught up with serving all of these people, right? You start to want their validation, or maybe even their validation. At a higher level, what you want to do is you want to be focused on serving these people directly, okay? That's who you want to be serving. So I can remember when I was younger, I would see certain, people in the media. Maybe I would see a guy on Fox News, like say Bill O'Reilly. You ever remember Bill O'Reilly? And he would make a lot of people really, really angry. And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, why is it that he's just able to know that many people dislike him and to speak with total confidence on a show? I used to wonder about that, right? I bet you some people probably see my stuff and they think that. They're like, how come this guy knows that his stuff annoys me, but he just keeps rattling on like that, right? And what they don't understand, they're not able to put themselves in that mental position is, I don't care. And the reason I don't care is not that I don't love them, it's not that I don't wish them the best, it's not like I'd help, like those same people who maybe wouldn't like my stuff, if a car's about to hit them, I try to jump and save them. Like, if they need a bite to eat, I'll give them a sandwich. Like if they want to chat, I'm happy to chat. But I'm not focused on them, not because I don't care about them personally, but I don't care about a negative opinion of somebody who is not in this thing right here. So what you want to do is you want to hyper concentrate the value for the people that are actually supporting you back. You want to give value freely to people and put yourself out there, but then the people who receive it, that's the people who you want to be focused on serving. So I could have 1 million people looking at my stuff online and not like it. I don't care about that. I care about the people who handed over $100 million to my cause. Does that make sense? Why would I care about, why would I be focused on the people who don't care, who are never going to spend, who are never going to care, who are not going to show up they're not going to watch even a full YouTube video to see a context of maybe some clip they saw on TikTok, let alone show up at a free event, let alone go to a paid event. Why would I care? So what I'm going to be continually doing is hyper delivering for that thin little group. And then what that's doing is by hyper delivering for that thin little group and for making my focus to hit their needs as high as I can, is that's what creates leads that stick, leads that spend, leads that care, leads that go the distance, leads of people who you can change their lives, leads of people who will appreciate you and help you because they received what you have to offer. So you want to be continually looking for people like that. You want to be being fully yourself. You want to be aware of how you come across to some extent, but you want to be yourself fully, and you don't want to be pulling your punches. I've never been the most popular guy in social media, nor have I tried to be. But what I have done well is brought in a group of people who care, a group of people who love what it is that we do, a group of people who really do receive the value, and I built an 8-figure-a-year business out of it, running a channel that's not even that big. And that is the exact same approach that I use in social skills. So a lot of this was really a metaphor for social skills. I'm not a 6'2", square cut jaw, thick head of hair, jack dude. That's not me. I'm not like the Giga Chad, right? We all know that. I love that expression, by the way. It's one of the funniest ones I've heard, the Giga Chad. Right? So I'm not going to use the social strategies of the Giga Chad, right? That's not going to be a social strategy that I have, right? If I am, born into royalty and, say that you're Princess Diana or like, a prince, well, then you can just go to this parade put on for you and just turn your hand like this and everyone just cheers for you. That's really cool. Like, there's probably 30, 40 people in the world that can do that. And isn't that great that they can? Good for them. That's really awesome. I think that's beautiful. They can have that experience, probably messing up psychologically in a major way, but it's pretty cool. That's not my experience, okay? And that's not gonna be your experience. If you're somebody who is short, ugly, funny looking, bald, not in good shape, or even if you are in great shape, but you're just not meeting the caliber of people that you know that you should and you want to increase it, what you got to do, and repeat this after me, is stop boiling the ocean. Say that again.
Stop boiling the ocean.
Right? Or a better way to say it would be stop trying to boil the ocean, because the truth is you're not doing it. Actually, if you did boil the ocean, that'd be pretty cool. But you're not even doing it, okay? So maybe we'll just do a bigger mouthful. We'll say stop trying to boil the ocean, okay? Stop trying to boil the ocean. Okay, we'll think of a more succinct way for like a little chant for that later, but it's stop trying to boil the ocean. So what happens is I think most of us have an unhealthy relationship to approval, and so we want that approval from everybody. We hate it that anybody can reject us. We hate it that people could be watching us online and not like what it is that we're doing. And look, there's clearly a balance here, okay? There's a famous meme with like this like chubby kid who's like, he's like doing a selfie in the mirror, and he's like super chubby, and he's got like a backwards hat, and he's like, F all the haters, baby. And it's like, when you're that, like, if I'm out of shape, and not as a self-parody, but for real, I'm like, posting mirror selfies, I'm like that, and like it's legit, like not a self-parody is hilarious. Like half of what I do in my speech is a self-parody, which people like to cut and make it look like I was serious, by the way. They seem to think that's good. It's all good. But I love doing self-parody, okay? But if you're saying that not as, like half of what's out of my mouth is a cartoon character self-parody. Some people can't seem to figure this out, which is funny to me. But even there, right? What if I stopped doing funny self-parodies in my speeches to please the people that are going to take it for real. Well, then you lose out on the humor. So I don't care. It's kind of strange to me they can't see it, but that's okay. They probably don't make enough money to take a program, because if they couldn't figure out that to sell parody, they probably can't afford a program. So I'm okay with that. Another screen. So in effect, what it is like, if you're trying to boil the ocean, you're so afraid of disapproval that you don't do the self-parody. You know these little jokes that I'll do where, like, I'm spitting on the ground, or you ever seen it where, like, I'll do a live and, like, bring my girlfriend on there like half naked or something, or I'll start screaming at the end and like I go all crazy. Or you might have seen videos that are like really, really intense where I'm crying and going crazy deep, or I'm doing transformation work and it's really esoteric and weird. That is content that's done for a very, very small number of people who care. Most people don't care. They don't care that I did some weird transformation work. They don't care that I healed somebody's trauma. They don't care that we stayed up till late at night doing events. They just want mainstream stuff. That's what they want. They want mainstream stuff, right? But I bet you, for most of you in this room, if I did mainstream stuff, you'd look at it and you wouldn't dislike me, but you'd just say, oh, there's not really anything for me here. Would you kind of feel that way? If I started giving mainstream stuff, you'd be like, hey man, good for you, bro. Hope it goes well, but there's kind of not anything for me here, right? I'm looking for something a bit more focused on, who I am, and something that would meet my needs more specifically. So if you're too afraid to alienate some people, then what you're trying to do is you're trying to get approval from everybody. That's called, what do we call that again? Trying to do what? Boil the ocean. And that doesn't work. Now, some businesses can do that. Those are businesses that have venture capital. Many people who I do one-on-one coaching with have a ton of venture capital. That's how they can afford to get me one-on-one. And what happens with people with venture capital is they can boil the ocean, because what they can do is they can buy billboards and put it on every street corner, and they can get shelf space in major retail stores and things like that. They have venture capital, they can pull that off. Usually they kind of have to espouse the values of the regime. They can't really speak up and speak their mind. They have to just parrot the basic values of the day. And that's just sort of how it is, right? So it's kind of hard to be yourself when you're part of the regime and part of the establishment. But hey, they make a lot of money. Can't be themselves fully. They can make a lot of money. And sadly, oftentimes even what happens is that they may have done nothing wrong, and literally the powers that be will even cut things they said out of context, destroy their whole careers to make examples out of them as part of the new and evolving regime, by the way. That can also happen quite frequently. And then they don't have a core fan base. They don't actually have a core, because we've had crazy stuff cut out of context and we become more popular than ever because we have core people who love us. So actually, when you serve the people who love you, you can get crucified falsely in the mainstream or have hater videos, and they will pay it no mind because you're helping them more. But when you're trying to boil the ocean to help everybody, nobody's really that invested. You're kind of just there in front of them. And then if you get hit with stuff, you can lose a lot of people pretty quickly. That's why you want to have, if you can get more of a mainstream audience, hey, that's great, but you also always want to have your base, okay? You always want to have your base of people who you love, and you don't want to abandon your base or you're in deep, deep trouble. It's okay to, hit the mainstream a little bit too, but you don't want to completely abandon your base. Now, let's keep going a bit. So if you try to boil the ocean, then what winds up happening is you don't get a lot of disapproval, and you wind up getting a lot of validation. So here's the basic idea behind it. This is incredibly powerful, and please pay close attention because it's really gonna change your life. So wherever your intention is going is kind of like what's gonna happen, right? It's like if you try to punch through a wall, you're aiming to punch right through the wall. And so what's gonna wind up happening if you're trying to punch right through the wall is you're aiming beyond the wall and you're gonna punch right there. Okay, so the power of intention, truly you wouldn't believe it. It's really, really crazy. Like, I've had it to where I'll go out to bar club and my intention is for something pretty wild to happen, like maybe real wild, like who knows what it could be. And it gets crazy. Things get spicy real quick. Like, you can have some nights where you could have I guess the best word would be multiple adventures in a night where you're like, this is crazy. If you get it in your mind where your intention is to have a wild, spicy night that's that wild and spicy, okay? We're in our new era of social media where there's entire government agencies now looking at every word out of your mouth. That actually happened today, by the way, that they just brought that in. You should go look that up. It's basically a ministry of truth that's actually in the country. It's one of the saddest things I've seen in my lifetime. It's truly sad. But anyway, so given that context, we'll call it a wild and spicy night. okay? So if you're trying to have a wild and spicy night, okay, and maybe you'd like to have 4 or 5 wild and spicy experiences, things like that start happening when you're intent, when you truly disattach from I hope nobody thinks that I suck, and you just completely let that go. You just completely let that go. And all that your intent is just to have a wild, fun night. Things just get insane. And so much of it is actually learning how to we'll call it focus the laser. Just repeat that after me. Focus the laser. So if you just focus the laser in, rather than your intention being I want to serve, kind of limp. I got a torn ACL here, so that's why I'm limping, by the way. So basically, if your intention is all in here, all these people, yeah. And by the way, this is the people that just bought the ebook for Evan, right? That's at least people that might have spent 20 or 40 bucks. But most of us are not even trying to just get that group. We're trying to get all these guys that didn't even buy anything just to not like us. We're trying to get all them, let alone them. But y'all shouldn't even be that focused on them. That's just the $20 people. Y'all shouldn't even just be focused on them. Or sorry, I got that ad wrong. Okay, these are the people who didn't buy, but got exposed to the ad. I messed that up. And then these are the people that bought the ebook. And then that's the people who will buy the high ticket stuff. So you want to be focusing your energy on not just this, not even this, but you want to be focused on that. And what happens is that when you completely focus on that, that's when people come in droves, okay? I had it where back in the day, I always enjoyed helping grow the careers of multiple coaches, and I did that for a long time. Many of them got bigger social media followings than me. I was able to help many of them to create huge businesses. It was really amazing, but it was funny because every single event that I went to, where everybody was gonna be there, I'd say who here came here primarily for which coach, or who here came through via myself or others, and some of y'all might have seen me do that at the free tour, and it's literally 99% me. And the reason why was because I always struggled to get other coaches to take this one advice that I'm giving you here, no matter how many times that I told them, it's that you've gotta be serving right in here. You've gotta stick in there, okay? And that is how you get this cult-like following of people who love you, is you just go right for that exact part of the ocean. You don't go for the whole ocean. You pick that one part, and you just get your little sandbox, and you just boil it, and you just go, and it's like that, and it's boiling. And so you've got to be at the point, say that you're doing YouTube videos, you don't care about a single person that ripped you on YouTube. As an example, y'all ever seen videos of people saying I'm some big jerk on YouTube? You ever seen stuff like that? I'm poopy pants or something? Have you ever seen me making a video like that ever? Even one time. Why do you think that is? Because I care more about the 100 million in sales. I care more about serving my audience. I care more about helping people. Unless the person's saying that, if they've done over 100 mil, cool. But if they haven't, they're limiting themselves by doing that, because all they're doing is fulfilling some weird need that they have to talk a bit of crap, but they're not serving the people who pay. People who like trash videos are not buyers. That's not a buyer's list. So you've got to be streamlining for buyer's lists immediately. Okay, there's a guy called Garrett J. White. I think he is so good, by the way. I love that guy's content. It's so funny. Some of the funniest stuff I've seen in my life. One of the truly great public speakers you'd ever see in your life, and everything he says, I just love it. He has this thing where he does, he basically says that he wants married men that are Christian and that are entrepreneurs. And that's who he makes his videos for. Do you think that's a qualified lead base? Okay, now by the way, and I absolutely believe that Garrett stands by this. He's a person of authenticity, so he stands by this, but doesn't hurt with sales either, I'm sure. But he stands by it, I 1000% believe. He says, in this program, I'm gonna teach you how to stop wanting to cheat on your wife and how to take her on an amazing date and make her your queen. Okay, now, funny enough, okay, we have one incredibly successful marketer sitting here and you're laughing and laughing. Why do you think that might perhaps be of benefit to his sales?
Well, ironically, it's just qualifying the people that he wants.
Mm-hmm. But is it also perhaps removing an obstacle? What do you think, if he's charging somebody $20,000 a month, what's going to be the main obstacle to him, to that guy spending that?
The wife, yeah. Because a lot.
I am gonna teach you to stop cheating on your wife. You're gonna take her on real dates and you're gonna be a real man and make her your queen. Right? The guy's like, honey, could I have the 20 grand this month? She's like, no. He's like, but look at this. She's like, all right. You see what he's done here? It's pre-qualified. Christian. You know that if they're working for the glory of God, you know they're working hard, okay? Entrepreneur, you know they got some paper in there somewhere. And he wants married. If you're married, you ain't running around with a bunch of swagger. You're just killing yourself to feed your family, right? You know, right? You know before you're married, half of your evolutionary pressure and time and energy is going into swag, going into dating. You're not optimizing your money, right? By the time that you're married, you get beaten down, and then all you do all day is make money to try to cope through the day of like how much your life is horrible. I'm just kidding. But the point being is that no, I'm kidding, but I'm not. It's kind of a self-parody. I believe there's amazing marriages and I believe there's terrible marriages, but I believe that there is a large group of people who are in pain, and those are the spenders. Right? If the guy's already got all the money that he wants and he's not kind of miserable and he's getting along, he's probably not a qualified buyer. So, look, I can't speak for Garrett. One thing that drives me crazy is people always like dissect things that I do and I'm not there, and they're like, Owen does this for this reason. I'm like, no, I don't, and I'm not there, and why are you talking about me when I'm not there? That's crazy. So I don't know why exactly he does what he does. You should go check out Garrett J. White. He's so good. Okay, you should really go check. He's so great. Go check him out. So great. Like, go look at his rants on his YouTube lives and stuff. He says they're inspired by God, and like it really feels that way. They're so funny. They're so good. Garrett J. White. They're so good. They're so good. But and you don't have to agree with everything, by the way. Okay. He wouldn't want you to agree with everything. He doesn't want me to agree with everything. He doesn't want anyone to agree with anything. He wants you to think for yourself. But the point being is to just take the general value of it. Okay. So the idea being is that he says, let's look at the pre-qualification here. Look at this for a minute. Pre-qualification. What are the qualifications he gave? Repeat them back to me.
Christian. Married.
Yep.
I think that was I've done it out of sequence.
And what was it, guys? It's getting late. That's why I had you guys say it back. It's getting so late. What is it? Entrepreneur. These are guys with money.
Christian, entrepreneur.
And married, right? And then he says, what's one of the big things he's going to teach you? How to make your wife the queen, okay? So he's getting rid of that obstacle, gone, okay? Because trust me, you think the average married guy just gets to go drop 20K a month or something like that, and like the wife's not gonna say something? Please, right?
There'll be a lot of millionaires who have to ask their wife for permission to like go on the golf course.
That's 1,000,000% what it is. Yeah, but it's actually the truth, because particularly the kind of guy that would sign up for one of those courses. Okay, not only is it highly common, but like the guy who doesn't need permission to go ask to go golf, he's probably happy enough that maybe he's not taking the course. So you're looking for people who actually want what you have to offer. And so this is the major thing, is that you have selling to cold leads and you have selling to warm leads. Okay, you have selling to cold leads, you have selling to warm leads. Selling to cold leads is different from selling to warm leads. So what we do in our business is we put out a lot of free content. That gets put into the search engine for people that are looking it up. We make it a little bit harder to access, but we make some videos that are more easily accessible, but many videos that are harder to access. That difficulty in accessing it makes you polarized to either love it or hate it. Okay, I act a little bit crazy. I grow a crazy beard. I come across a bit wacky. That gets people to dislike me. Having people disliking me forces you to polarize. If you read about other people or see videos from other people who hate me, now all of a sudden the question isn't, is Owen neutral to me? Is he okay? You're either like, I hate him, or this is awesome, and it forces you. So your haters are actually polarizing your audience for you, so you want to be attracting haters. You will see a direct correlation to how successful you are to how many haters you have. If I didn't have any hater videos coming up, I'd actually be afraid for my career. So you'll notice the more successful you are, the more that comes up. It's also because when you're highly successful, your name is being searched for all the time, and they're trying to flood your search engine. That's why they do it, okay? But they'll say it's for their holy mission. For my holy mission, to fill their search terms with my stuff. I mean, to help you, I'm gonna teach you this, right? So this is just common business, totally common business, completely obvious. The average consumer has no idea, total common business. So basically what you have is You want people to be polarized. You either want them to love you or hate you. You do not want people to be neutral around you, okay? So the kind of response that I'm going for to run the business is I want to get it to where when I'm on the street, I want to see people's hands shaking. I want to see people crying. I want to see people melting down. I want to see people freaking out. I want to see people speechless when they bump into me on the street. And the reason why is because the people who don't care about you and just say something negative, guess what? That same person that made the negative comment, if you were to click on their profile, I know because I did this when I'm younger, if you were to click on their profile, they're trashing everybody. That's what they do. It's not like this, when someone trashes you, it's not like it's this like really emotionally healthy person who's living a great, awesome life, and then they gave compliments on everyone else's videos, but then they bumped into yours and they felt compelled to say something bad. It's 100% they're unhappy. It's 100% that what's in here manifests externally in their words and actions, and it's 100% that they're doing this constantly like a drug addiction, and they've got other people around them that are also addicted on that drug. The people that are doing that are cultivating the lowest spending list in the world, negative people, lead clients, worst people that you could ever have. What I'm doing is I'm trying to always be positive, because when that multimillionaire watches my videos, I want that multimillionaire to trust me. I want them to know that I'm not going to air their dirty laundry. I want them to know that I'm never going to trash them. Like, as soon as somebody, say that you work with somebody and then you trash them behind their back when they leave, everybody else sees that and says, that's what they're going to do to me if they work with me. So you never want to come across like you have conflict with anybody. In the back of your mind, you're like, man, this person is like so bad, but you don't want to publicize your dirty laundry because you're breaking the trust with other people. So you want to train yourself on that. So all that I'm caring about, I'm not trying to get in a gossip war. Half of our old community is in a gossip war. They're all broke. They're all flat broke. They're not getting results, they're completely depressed, and then they externalize that by just crap talking everybody as some way to get a cheap dopamine kick. I don't want to get a cheap dopamine kick, I want to get the win. I don't care about the cheap dopamine kick, I care about results for myself and my clients, I care about the growth of our business, I care about us reaching our goals, I care about the legacy that we leave, I don't care about this stuff. So all that I'm going for is not some negative weirdo that wants to bond by being negative and weird. What I'm looking for is, again, I'm not trying to boil the ocean. Okay? I'm trying to really, really hyper serve these people. Once you have a group of people that are hyper served, now what happens is they want to do business with you, or they want to date you, or they want to put parts of you in their mouths or in other places. Okay? And so it is always the people that are trying to boil the ocean that can never figure out how to get leads that stick. They can't figure out how to generate leads and get it to stick. They're completely focused on this like codependent, wounded, traumatized thing of avoiding disapproval, of getting validation. They're stuck in that matrix. Now again, you remember that I was saying that wherever you put your focus like a laser, that's where it goes? If all that you care about is getting the approval of people that are seeing what you're doing and not bothering them, then you're gonna get a lot of that. Like, if you wanna be this generic person who just never gets criticized, you know what you're gonna get? No criticism. But instead what you want to do is you want to actually be going metaphorically for the jugular, metaphorically, okay? You want to be going, and in saying that, you want to be like a laser going right exactly where you want. You want your attention going right there. And that power of intention, like when I'm speaking to an audience, say on a YouTube video, social media video, my intention is for them to become deeply, deeply into our culture. Like, in a major way. Did any of you in this room ever start watching our videos and just binge watch them and go way down the rabbit hole, and like it became like this complete utter obsession for the longest time, and you're even shocked that you're in this room right now? You're like, this is so cool, like I'm here at the thing. Oh, like, you feeling like that right now? That's what I'm aiming at. I'm not aiming at trying to get everybody. I don't do that. I'm specifying who it is that I want to help. Now, in my case, I don't do the Garrett J. White thing, going just for like married entrepreneurs, because I do want to help a lot of people, including people that are broke or things like that, because I get a range of people. I get people that are super rich, super broke, and everything in between, because I do like to help all people. I feel, for me, my intention more so than building the business is actually to leave a legacy of like some of the best content ever made, right? If you want to see the truth in that, look at the fact that I spent a couple $1 million to travel over the country to just film only 52 videos. Like, I have a 52 video series coming out. It's coming out later in the year. I probably spent a couple $1 million in 2 years of my life to make 52 videos. That's like anybody who's an expert in social media will tell you that's insane. I did that because I love what it is that I do. I run events until late. I push the envelope in every event that I do, every mentoring that I do, every course that I do. Not only do I push it in myself, but I multiply myself. Do you guys understand the principle of multiplying yourself? I multiply other people and other coaches who can come on and do like a whole, full spectrum attack on having different coaches from every angle come in, right? So, I don't just do it myself, I multiply myself. And I'm very, very lucky that many, many people who I coached over the years also became highly, highly successful in their niche. And then they actually even outgrow me, and then they'll actually even, come to my events and speak at my events or things like that. So I've had the good fortune of doing that as well. So, there's like a lot of different angles that I take at it. But the point that I'm trying to get at you is to understand what it means to have a qualified lead. Somebody who's into you. You don't need this super advanced technique in order to convert them, whether that could be, buying from you, whether that could be to hook up, whether that could be to date you, whether that could be to be friends with you or do business with you, whatever it is, because you've got a qualified lead in front of you, so you have the right people that are there. If you have the wrong people that are there, it's useless, okay? Now, the next thing that I wanted to go into, and this will be one of the final points on this topic, is why do you think I'm not scared, to have people like clowning me online or things like that? Like, because do you ever see that and you're like, wow, wouldn't that bother you? Like, wouldn't you care? Why do you think I'm not afraid of that? Yeah.
Well, the kind of audience those videos attract are not the kind of audience that you're going for.
It's not at all. That is generally, you have a coping-based audience and a thriving-based audience, okay? So in personal growth, some people, they get their sense of fulfillment, A, by avoiding criticism, and by feeling like they're better than other people. Repeat that after me. What's the first one? I know it's getting late, so I'm asking you. What's the first one?
Avoiding criticism.
What's the second one?
Feeling like better than others.
Yeah, getting very late here, right? What's the first one?
Avoiding criticism.
What's the second one?
Feeling like you're better than others.
But in personal growth, you pay for criticism. You pay money to be ripped apart. You actually pay people to tear you down because it's a coach. Because when you're coping, you don't feel like you could do anything with the criticism. You're just like, well, if you criticize me, I'm gonna feel bad. But you can't do anything with it. But when you're in thriving, you feel like you can do something with it. Likewise, in coping, you wanna feel better than other people to get a dopamine kick out of feeling better than others. In thriving, you feel like if somebody was better than you can learn from them and replicate it. If you're in a coping pattern, you don't feel like you could learn from somebody doing better than you. In thriving, you feel like you could do better by seeing somebody ahead of you. So a coper is like, look at that idiot, ha 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 ha, right? And then if you criticize them, they get their feelings hurt. They can dish it out, but they can't take it. Some of the biggest critics that you'll ever see, if somebody criticizes them, they'll sue them. It's the craziest thing. They rip everybody, but then as soon as they get ripped one time, I'm suing you. Why are you suing them? Well, because the things I said were true and yours wasn't. It's like, you're actually fully crazy, but they can't see it. But what happens is that if you're in thriving, you want criticism to see how you could do better, and you want to see people doing better than you so you can replicate it because you believe that you could produce the result. So the people that are criticizing you are living in this sort of weird judgmental subworld. It's like this other planet that exists on planet Earth as well. It's like same physical reality, different energetic reality. And many of us came from that reality. And so those people, almost like escaping Hades, and then this like skeleton hand comes and grabs your ankle and tries to draw you back in, they want to pull you back into their world and have you be like, no, but you're bad, but I'm good, but I'm good, but you're bad, but I'm good, but I'm good. Like they're trying to get you to do that. Somebody, again, who is just trying to go right after these people right here, just trying to go for buyers and just trying to go for people who want to give energy back and reflect that energy back at you, they don't care about that. They're just like, you know what? Instead of me living in this freaky, judgmental, subworld, purgatory hell thing, I just want to go to every major ski resort in the country and take my children there and spend like $20,000, $30,000 a week to go there and skip the line and go helicopter skiing too. I just kind of want to go to like every major national park. I want to spend my time in Montana. I want to be out in nature. I want to be in Wyoming. I want to be canoeing in Maine. I want to rent giant chalets for me and my friends and family with like a sauna there and like a big lake and sit in the sauna together and jump in the lake. And then I want to go to 5-star dinners and pay for it for everybody. And I want to send my kids to the best schools. And maybe I want to go on one of those rocket ships when eventually we could do like rocket trips and things like that. I want to go see the rest of the planet. I want to help create schools and do charity. So A, sit around protecting my ego and ripping everybody. B, stopping caring. Again, focusing on this, which gets all of that prosperity. As far as dating, you can be focused like, well, I don't want to get rejected. I want to try to boil the ocean. I want everybody to like me. Or you can say, you know what? I want to get like, a group of people who are really into me and be able to have like be dating many different people who are all completely in love with me, are cool with me, actually seeing other people, eventually maybe getting in a committed relationship to have a family if I want, and so on and so forth. And I want to date just totally amazing, incredible people who think that I'm like the best of the best of the best of the best, and who are just head over heels for me, to the point where I can lead these relationships, because if somebody's not into you, you can't lead the relationship to the promised land. That's a really big key. You ever have it where you're dating somebody and you feel like you could add value to them, but they're not like putting you enough on a pedestal, and as a result, they don't listen to you. They question everything that you say. They argue with you. You take them somewhere nice, they get in a bad mood because they don't value the relationship that much. So you think that you've got a girlfriend, for example, but you don't. You don't have a girlfriend. You have a liability. You don't actually have a girlfriend, right? Like if you have, again, all these people right here, you're like, no, I have all these fans. You want to know what people don't realize? The big thing you don't realize? These are not your fans. They're not your fans. These aren't your fans. They don't care. They're not voting with their dollars. They don't give a crap. They're not your freaking fans. Oh, you got 1 million views? How many are buyers? How many care? They don't care. No, but I care. I'm not a buyer, but I care. No, you don't. You care a little bit. That's like if you go over to some girl's house at 3 a.m. to go hook up, and then she's like, you kind of don't care about me. You're like, no, I care. Well, yeah, you care enough to come at 3 a.m. to get what you want, but you're not going to take me on a date, right? That's if I had a daughter and she's like, no, Tommy really cares about me. Tommy comes over at 3 a.m. to like, get it in and then goes home, right? Like, no, he doesn't care about you. No, but Tommy says he does care. No, Tommy doesn't care. He cares like a little bit, but he doesn't even care enough to take you to a freaking movie, right? But some people, their version of a relationship is letting Tommy come over at 3 a.m. Anybody who actually likes them, they ignore those people because they want to boil the ocean. You ever have it where it's like, maybe you post a video and you get 100 compliments, one person rips you, but then you just want to engage with the one person that rips you and get all the approval because you want to boil the ocean. What you should be doing is giving comments back to all those people who like you and just ignoring anybody who talk crap and actually not feeding attention back to that, and training people. Here's the big key: training people that the way to get your attention is by making problems. You want to train people that the way to get your attention is not making a problem, is by treating you well. When people treat you well, treat them well back. When people treat you bad, ignore them and cut them out. That's how you want to be thinking about it. So again, my entire success that I've had, I'm not the most successful person, but the entire success that I've had has been not about trying to boil the ocean. It's about finding a very, very specific niche of people who I can specifically help, zeroing in on them, and then crafting offers for them that resonate and that they want, okay? And so basically what you do, and this is like a much, much deeper topic, but basically what you do is you kind of analyze how invested is someone in you initially. And then you craft things, whether that's how to open a conversation in real life, or whether that could be something like, a piece of social media. You craft things like whether it's thumbnails or titles or intros or openers that meet them where they're at when they're not that invested. Then as they get more invested, you have a different way that you relate. And then as they get more invested, you have a different way that you relate. As they get more invested, you have a different way that you relate. And there's a whole funnel and pathway that exists there. And from that whole funnel and pathway, they can go further down the rabbit hole with you. And then you always have people engaging with you. And now you're rich and your dating life is freaking awesome. Now, again, some people, they want, they're like, well, yeah, but, if you're only doing like, I don't know, 10 or 20 million a year in sales, I want to do 1 billion. Well, that's more where you go, you do boil the ocean because you have venture capital, right? If right now you get given, hundreds of millions or billions in venture capital, you can go build that thing that every single person likes. If that's the case, maybe focus on making a pitch for people that'll fund your business. But what I'm talking about here is how to have something where you own 100% of it, or something where you have your own personal brand that you own, or you have something that you own, whatever it would be, and basically you can build this, and you can build these from scratch. You can build niche-based companies from scratch and build them out quick. And knowing what I've explained to you here, I could honestly ask any of you what it is that you do, and I could just start helping you, zero in on that stuff and build it out, and you could actually get a lot of financial success very, very quickly. And likewise, as far as your dating life, again, I can start drilling in to who you are personally, drilling in looking at your assets, looking at what's unique about you, and then showing ways of presenting that. And then again, I can't boil the ocean. I can't make everybody like you. I can't make you put up, if you're an average person, I can't make you put up like, a Bumble account and then everyone floods you with it or things like that. But I can show you how to find your tribe. My own dating life, it's like very, very specific niches of people who like what I have to offer, right? Like you could show my picture, to the average girl on the street and be like, would you date this guy? And they're like, that's some guy that taught dating, like this guy. But look at how dumb that is. That's dumb. If I was somebody who you could show my picture to every girl on the street and they're like, oh yeah, I'd go for him, I would be immediately unqualified to be able to teach that. I mean, I guess you could make an example, you could talk about, maxing out your appearance or something. There's probably some counter argument in there somewhere. And I get all that, okay? That's not lost on me. But largely, no, it's the fact that I am this kind of like balding, ginger, quirky, Asperger-y guy, but I was able to find, probably 3 or 4 main niches of people who really, really connect with that and like are excited by that. And then what I did was I hyper niched it. So if you ever notice, like I might dress a little bit off the wall or I might act a little bit off the wall, what I'm doing is I'm hyper focusing on specific types of people who I would date or specific types of people that I'd market to. And I'm going mega, like again, not boiling the ocean, but like niching out what it is. And I'm putting like electricity right in that bowl to the point that the water's just freaking vaporizing. It's like that for the right bowl. But I'm not trying to get the whole ocean. So, a lot of people would see my videos and they're like, how could that guy be the guy teaching that? Like, oh, so I'm supposed to just look and act like Owen? That's what he's teaching? I'm not remotely teaching that. In fact, I'm teaching the exact opposite. So let's get everybody up right now, and I want everybody to chat with each other about what your niche is, what are your USPs, who you want to attract, who you want to do business with, and let's just start drilling into this.